Yes, guys, a hell of a lot's gone on over the weekend, a huge sell-off across cryptocurrency. We're going to take a look on the intraday chart and see how we can capitalize. Let's go. All right, guys. Well. Crazy weekend. Yeah, we had a huge sell-off. Those that have been following on from last week, we were discussing this range that we were in, this range between $93,065 and $86,080. We have looked at price action and we've not made any drastic kind of decisions and plays until this range either traded out to the upside or traded out to the downside. And it does look like we're about to get a really strong weekly closure. So essentially, we've kind of confirmed a bearish bias. There's a few things that I want to touch on, okay? And this is a little bit of hindsight analysis. There was opportunities, and if you go back and watch the videos, we did discuss it, and it is frustrating in hindsight that we didn't capitalize on them, but there was opportunities to short BTC in and amongst the 61.8% pullback, and that would have been a great trade, right? We did say this on the previous video. Sorry if I just hit the mic. We didn't take it because our overarching bias was, okay, we're coming to the bottom of the range and we feel like we might see some buying pressure. We were outright wrong, right? But the good thing is we didn't rush into any positions. I've seen so many people on X try and buy that dip. The important thing about ranges as well is because pressure does build up in a range, as time is going to that direction, as the range continues to form consolidating price action, your chances of remaining in the range decrease, of course. So it's likely that as time goes, there's going to be some sort of action to the upside or downside. That's why we didn't try and do any drastic buys or bounce plays like I've seen all over CT. Our whole thesis and our whole approach was we wanted to see confirmation on a weekly closure. Simple. If the week closed back above this range, we were going to look to long back into the range, into the upside of the range. But if it closed below, we would now shift our intraday sentiment to be sellers. And it's perfect. We didn't get involved. We didn't lose any money, and we stayed out of the market. We didn't rush anything. Simple as that. So that comes with time, patience, because we literally gave ourselves those rules. Okay, it's easy for me to say this in my accounts and stuff, and in my other accounts, if I was managing and trading this actively, and we were mapping out this together, and we were mapping out this collectively, and we started doing this analysis on that week, right? Not just last week. We would have taken that short purely because that would have followed our rules. Okay, so the market would have traded out, we would have closed below, we would have looked at this next candlestick, and all the momentum would have been to the downside. So we would have took that short. Okay, what we were looking for was the exact same price action on the flip side, but it didn't happen and it didn't play out. Good thing is we didn't miss out on any money, and we didn't lose any money, right? Because we weren't doing this mapping. But you can see how them two scenarios happen in a couple of weeks apart. One gives the opportunity because of a confirmation, and one doesn't because it doesn't give a confirmation. So what I want to talk about now is the last 2 weeks of price action and the last two candlesticks, the 2 weekly candlesticks, tell a very, very clear story. I mean, I find it highly unlikely that we will bounce into this range and then trade up, off, and start retesting highs. I'd be very shocked if we had that before we had a continuation and a rollover to the downside, some sort of relief bounce that we could maybe short into on intraday charts. That's what we're going to now shift our focus to, because as far as I'm concerned, we're trading below the 20-day EMA, below the 50-day SMA, and the 20-day EMA came up and tapped it beautifully in alignment with that $98,139 price point too. Some very simple indicators to show you when you're oversold, okay? A couple of things to note is the weekly RSI hasn't been this oversold in quite a long time either. So we are nearing some extremities with regards to BTC, so we have to be mindful. As we come down into lower prices, we are trading a philosophically bullish asset. It is a scarce asset. There is that natural kind of overarching viewpoint of the chart that we go higher over time. You have more success being a bull than you do being a bear. That is just outright logical when you look at the BTC chart. Past performance is the best indicator of future performance, and we're not going to try to outsmart that. We're going to trade that. So as we near an extreme low, and we have these RSIs giving us readings of, okay, we haven't really been this low on the RSI, weekly RSI, since the 22nd of November. Since November 2022, right before we traded off higher. We're not now going to bet to the downside with size. We're going to take very small sells if a high quality opportunity arises. And you might be thinking, this is quite, why are we pulling back? Why is this boring? Look, this will provide some good opportunities now because we've got a bias. However, we do have to be mindful that there may be some buys into these low price points, right? Because Bitcoin is a very undervalued asset in terms of our perception, and in terms of realistically, by the way, it's been marketed and adopted by everybody else currently. That's our viewpoint. So the way we look at this, right, and we can look at the monthly as well for a little bit of clarity and overarching structure. We have a very, very key swing low here that we spoke about, which is keeping us propped above really high very high time frame bullish structure. We're still relatively bullish, which we're still trading above the 50 EMA on the monthly. That's never really been traded below other than back here, and we came up and traded it. So we're quite safe above there. We're relatively bullish on higher time. This is, in my opinion, this is what the big guys are looking at. I think a lot of us get kind of caught up in and amongst the lower time frames. And I always look at this chart. This chart is something that I look at consistently. It gives you a lot of reassurance. I think if you traded off the monthly time frame as a BTC investor and never went on crypto Twitter, I think you would be a much more calm investor, to be honest. But yeah, I'm just giving you guys some clarity as we head into the week. I'm not concerned, to be honest. I'm still, a spot buyer. I can show you guys, actually. I can show you we've been chipping in a few thousand into BTC over the last couple of weeks. Literally just chipping in. Same with Sol, bought a little bit of Sol, bought a little bit of ETH, but been buying hype, had a great hype trade last week. I'm still looking to buy the market, but on these intraday BTC charts, I do feel as though we're going to have some nice opportunities to the downside. So a couple of rules of thumb. I just wanted to talk about that because while we are going to be looking for intraday shorts, our risk in terms of what we're going to bet on these shorts is going to scale back slightly just because of where we are contextually and in BTC's chart, right? Until anything drastic changes, until we were to break this low or whatever, unlikely, we're going to be viewing this as quite a significant oversold price point. All right, so we go to the daily chart. Daily chart is extremely oversold, right? So we wouldn't sell anything around here. What we want to do is, of course, wait for some sort of pullback. And what I like to do is look at the scene of the crime here to the extreme low. And we have some nice areas in and around here that we could look to pull back and sell into. This is basically the underside of the range, right? 61.8, a 50% premium on that overall move. If we can get a bounce play into that region, which we could potentially see over the coming days, or it'll be likely into the week. That's why I said on the last video, it'll probably be Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe even Thursday New York session that we can potentially look to get active. But we're mapping it out and we're looking to see how that plays out. We do have a very, very clear fair value gap here as well, in alignment with this nice little region here, which aligns beautifully with the 61.8% fib. If we pull it, yeah, right in and amongst there. So, and we do have a fair value gap here. I think that will likely kind of see price action come into this region. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go on our nice little 1 hour charts, and we're going to copy this little box region over. Okay, so we have this nice price point here. We have this fair value gap here as well, which you can see has very low volume, thin volume. I'm pretty confident we'll probably trade through this, but we wouldn't buy this because now our overarching kind of bias is to look to sell that kind of downside move, right? So what we're going to be doing is basically waiting and being patient as we head back into that region, as we head back into this little box region. We need to change the color of these boxes as well, don't we? Because obviously white's not that great on the eye. Let me kind of clear this up. Change color. Yeah, we'll go for this for now. Boom, boom. Okay. I'll clean all this up. I don't really like that, to be honest. But yeah, so this is the kind of price action that we're going to want to see. What we're going to do now is going to go and see if we can investigate any kind of nice liquidation levels that can align this beautifully. Okay, so initially we do have 84,000, around for 85K, got nice liquidation levels around there. If we go to the monthly chart, nothing really of our concern. Jump down a little, price point. Yeah, around that 85K. Where's 85K on this chart? Voila. So it's likely them shorts will be taken out. There's going to be a couple of scenarios that will happen in and around here. We either trade back into the range and we have that reclaim, which we can look to buy, or we see some exhaustion and some exhaustive price action in and around here, and we take out these stops, which is kind of sent price lower, and then we roll back over further, right? This is going to attract price. I'm almost certain that we're going to grind back up into 83,800. Too many kind of catalysts. We've got the fair value gap, thin liquidity, or magnetized price to the upside, oversold daily chart. I'd be really surprised if we just traded lower. It's not really how Bitcoin moves. It's likely we'll trade back into this blue box, which we will look to capitalize on and be sellers for, okay? Because overarching price action is nicely bearish. If we go to the, even on the 12-hour, we're trading below. I think we'll be trading below these EMAs clearly as well, in and around there. But believe the daily EMA, yeah, this daily 20 EMA, I think it's going to be a beautiful setup, that, to be honest, guys. I really, really do. That's now what we're playing and what we're looking for. We've spoke about this. The overarching momentum is to the downside. We're trading the last 2 weeks. Oh, what we want to do is we want to trade the last 2 weeks. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. We're trading the last 2 weeks of price action. Vroom, vroom. Okay. And we want to see some kind of pullback into that zone, maybe like a nice little wick up, and then a rollover. Look how these weekly candlesticks can trade. Like, you can have significant wicks either side. The price action's insane. Like the volume that happens on BTC is insane. So that's what we're going to be looking for. I'll keep you guys in tune. That's mapping out the week for BTC. So that's the levels that we're looking at. This is how we're going to be doing it in Deliverance. This is how we're going to be approaching things. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into it. These are chart videos. These are keeping you guys up to date and in the loop. Might add another couple of assets in this week. Might do some features this week as well on YouTube. But guys, just stay in tune with the market, stay in tune with the charts. It's the best thing you can do. And I keep you guys up to date. Nice one.